This is Mercito Hesta. You're watching PhilippineNews.com. Freddie, what do you think when they
Maybe planned, something planned. I'm not sure because I like Adrian. He's actually a friend of mine. I like him. He's a nice guy. He's always respectful to me. But he's just not at that level yet, or maybe never will be at that level. Mayweather, it'd be too much for him, and Mayweather's retired.
Do you think that if Manny dominates Tim Bradley, that might lure Mayweather to come back for number 50?
I certainly hope so. I would love for Manny to fight him one more time, 100% healthy, and which he definitely is right now. And I would love to see that. Yes.
When they fought, the fight was fairly close at the first half, and it seemed like Mayweather kind of pulled away in the second half.
Yeah, I thought he wouldn't fight with the jab. He did a very good jab, and they did well. And Manny didn't throw as many combinations as I wanted him to. But you take like Bob and Manny watch the fight together and replay, and they think Manny outscored him. I never watched the replay because I was just a little bit disappointed in the first fight. I thought Manny could have done a lot better, but the thing is, Mayweather, I think, altered our game plan a little bit with that good jab.
You think Mayweather fights again?
I do.
No matter what?
Between him and Manny, they both are very, Manny's a very generous person and gives a lot of money away to his countrymen, and buys poor people houses and builds churches and builds schools and does good things with it. And Mayweather buys things, a lot of cars and a lot of houses for himself. It seems like they're both a bit of spenders, so sometimes the spenders have to fight against them.
Hard to turn down that kind of money too, I'd imagine.
I agree with you.
Freddie had the fight taken 6 years prior to when it did, when it was initially supposed to happen. Do you feel that it would have been a different outcome and a much more competitive fight?
Of course, yes, but again, we can only guess about that, though.
As for you and Aram, you guys are very enthusiastic about making Pacquiao versus Canelo, or you guys are all for it, but Oscar De La recently stated that boat has sailed on that fight. What do you take to that, and do you think a spectacular performance over Bradley can change his mind, entice him to actually make Pacquiao Canelo if Canelo gets past
Oscar's just scared, let's face it.
Scared of
Manny Pacquiao, because Manny kicked his ass.
But Canelo holds a serious weight advantage, and you said that you would actually ask for a hydration clause come Friday night for that fight to actually happen.
I've thought about it, yeah, but until that fight gets made, I don't know exactly what will happen. But there's always negotiations and how much weight gain, catch weights and so forth. The game is a lot different now than it used to be.
But you think that Oscar remembers back to when he fought Manny, and he's like, I don't want that for my guy?
It's the worst memory of his life. You'll never forget that one.
Going back to that fight, and then looking when you guys were a 5-1 underdog, I think I remember because you bet on the fight, and then now getting towards the end of the fight, where do you see just in those last, what has it been, about 6-7 years of Manny's career?
Well, it's just boxing is very good, and Manny's been doing really well. He hasn't knocked a lot of people out of this. The higher weight division. Manny's a much better puncher at 40 than he is at 47, and I attribute that to why he hasn't knocked anybody out in a long time. It's not that he's not hitting hard or anything. He's just not that big a person. The thing is, Manny's actually a better 140-pounder out there, and if he does fight again, I do hope that it's at 140 and not 47.
Well, guys like Margarito and Algieri, those fights you could argue should have been stopped maybe anyways.
Possibly, I think you're right, but that's the way it goes.
Freddie, and you mentioned that Manny can still make 135, right?
Manny can still make 135, but he walks around at like 138. He's no problem.
Do you think if he does decide to continue after this fight and maybe a move down in weight can prolong his career a couple of more years?
I do, yes, and I think there's some good fights at 40, with Terrence Crawford and those type guys. I think that might be the biggest fight out there at 140.
Would it benefit Manny to fight Crawford at 140 or 147? What's your take on that?
I'd like to fight at 140, but again, like negotiations will do everything. But again, Manny's best fighting weight, I think, is 140.
But what do you think about Crawford fighting on Postal? They say it'll probably happen here in July, and Postal's a very tough fighter, as you know.
And Postal's my fighter, and the fight we're kind of looking forward to, because we don't have many other offers out there for Postal. A lot of people don't want to fight him right now, and Crawford's one of the few guys that has said yes, and that could be an excellent fight. I mean, both very, very good upcoming fighters, and that's a 50-50 fight. I'm not going to say that we're going to go blow this guy away because I know Crawford's a good fighter, and Postal's a good fighter also, but I would love to see that fight, though.
Yeah, he may have retired Matisse. It sounds like Matisse doesn't want to fight anymore.
It sounds a little bit like that, but he was he got hurt in that last fight with Postal, and he's getting a little bit older, but maybe it's time.
Manny announced yesterday, at the press conference, and said it's his last fight.
Yeah.
But you don't sound like you think that's going to hold.
I don't really think that, yes, but until you've taken to the stipulation of him becoming a senator. Can he be a senator and a fighter? Is there too much on his plate there? Being a senator is much more demanding than a congressman, so maybe there won't be time enough to do both. So, but one thing I like about this is that he can retire happily because he's had a great career, and if he does retire, he does have something to fall back on. So most fighters don't have something to fall back on, and that's why they make comebacks and so forth. If Manny Pacquiao retires, I think he will be one time and it'll be over, and he'll become a senator, and he'll be happy with his life helping the people of this country.
Freddie Pacquiao's the 8th Division World Champion. He's accomplished so much in the sport, but do you feel that maybe if he retired, it will suit him better, being that he could help his people more than actually accomplish more in boxing? Do you think that's better for him to retire and just...
Well, he can help his people more, and by making more money and so forth, because he spends all his money on his people. And the thing is, I mean, the government gives money also, but the thing is, Manny gets more money out of his pocket than anybody. So, I mean, I'd like to see them stop doing that and let him leave him alone with that and a bit. But Manny's a very generous person.
He also stated that his post-boxing career could be promoting or is promoting. He stated he's already promoting weekly, monthly shows in the Philippines.
He has a monthly show right now, and him and Governor another governor that's used to be, yes. They do promote fights together, and they have some good prospects also.
Does he have a fighter in particular that stood out to you that you would like to say, you know what, this guy could do something for Manny?
There's one out there that's very good, and he's Manny's cousin actually, and he's a good prospect.
His name?
Freddie?
My memory is not good.
Freddie, Manny is 37 years old. If he were to lose a step tomorrow night, would you have known that in camp, or would you have to find out like the rest of us on Saturday night?
Well, we had a little bit of a slow start in camp, and I think it had a lot to do with the long layoff. So it was really hard for me to get going in camp this time. And he said he realized how hard the sport is because he never really had that long layoff before. And he really didn't peak until the last 2 sparring days, and then he really came along. And the firepower was there, and everything kind of came together. And I was waiting for that moment to happen for a little bit longer than usual, but it did happen. And he is there right now, and he's in great shape for this fight. And his firepower is going to be a little more aggressive than he has been in a long time. So I like where he's at right now, but it did take a little bit longer this time than it has in the past. So getting older is part of that equation.
Freddie, I asked that because you knew Oscar was done before Manny fought him, so you would know before anyone else would. In comparison to the Mayweather camp, was this as good a camp or not? So because he had to come on late in the camp and the layoff.
Well, the thing is, since he came on late, I don't think that makes a big difference. It's actually probably better to come on late so he doesn't overdo it. So I think it would end up being the perfect timing. But the thing is, he is getting older and so forth, and but boxers are going longer into higher ages now. I mean, when I was a fighter, I retired at 27, and that was average back then for fighters to retire. But nowadays, fighters are lasting until 35s and 40s, and now Hopkins in the 50s. So with the science we have now of athletics is much better now than it was back when I was a kid.
Freddie, if this is the last time you work with him, what would your qualities stand out to you? What do you take with you from working with him?
We had a great career and so forth, but you know what? He's like the best guy in the world. He is like the most generous, fair, nice person I've ever met in my life. I mean, the only way Manny Pacquiao will spend all his money is he gives it all away. I mean, because he's that generous. He's the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. And then, he's not prejudiced against anybody. I mean, he treats everybody fairly. He loves everybody. He's just a good person. I think he's the best person I've ever met as a human in my life.
You guys, we got to let other people ask questions. So let's ask one question and go to somebody else.
Freddie, if this is the last ride, the last fight of Manny's glorious career, how has this run been, and how has it felt being taken along for this amazing ride?
It's been 15 years of greatness. It's been really, really good. And Pacquiao is a generous person, and I can go visit him in the Philippines whenever I want because he gave me enough money to buy a ticket.
Freddie.
You had Manny when he turned up at the World Cup. What did you think?
My first impression was that he's special, and I knew that after one round, and I said, wow, this guy can fight, and then he went to his manager and said, we have a new trainer, and then when he fought Laguava, I tried to get a bet down. Laguava was like a 6-1 favorite, and then the casinos would take my bet. I was telling Bruce Trampler and all the guys that Manny's going to kill this guy, and they kept laughing at me, telling me, no, Laguava's way too much for him. And then after the Laguava fight, they all started to believe me. And then I think Manny's best fight still is when he beat Guerrero the first time in Texas. That was my favorite fight, and still is my favorite fight with Manny. And I think that put him on the map because Guerrero was pound for pound the best guy in the world at that time, and Manny dominated him. So I have some great memories of Manny, and those are just a couple.
What was his best weight class?
His best weight class? 135, 140 by far, but at this point right now, 140.
Did you see the comments Guerrero recently made that he said he wished he never fought Pacquiao that first time?
I never saw that, but
he said that he could have had easier fights.
Yeah, but the best fight in the best is always the best thing for boxing, and I walked down the steps that night, I was having trouble getting settled and stuff, and then I look up and the referee's counting over Manny because he got knocked down in the first round. But it was actually a slip, but the thing is, I didn't know, I said, I said, I picked the wrong guy, and then I thought he was going to count Manny out, and then Manny got up and came on, and I think he knocked him out in about the 11th round.
They threw the towel, yeah.
Freddie, Teddy seems to have an extremely personal relationship with Tim Bradley.
Yeah.
So early on. Do you think that could be something that could hinder him if he sees Bradley get in trouble, maybe stop the fight early when Bradley has good recovering ability? It could be a problem.
I don't think Teddy's that type of guy. I think he knows. I think he knows when a fighter will be ready to be stopped and so forth. He has enough experience, but he has been an announcer for a long time now, so maybe he's lost that. I'm not sure, but they seem to get along very well, and all the stories about firemen and all that bullshit. I mean, that's not going to get you ready for a fight. I mean, I hope we got him ready tactically, and I know we're going to hear another story or two. And he's entertaining, yes, but it doesn't help the fighter. I really don't think stories about firemen are going to help the fighter.
I know you want Manny to beat Tim, but do you want to beat Teddy?
Yes. Badly.
Freddie, how would you compare this week to the week leading up to the Floyd fight? Has it been easier for you and Manny to get your final preparations done without the circuits in town? Has it been?
Yeah, it has been. I mean, that fight was very demanding. I was really tired after that fight. There was a lot of press. There was a lot of everything. That was a big fight, and that was the biggest fight I've ever been involved in my life. And this one is a little quieter, but the thing is, big fights are what we live for. And I hope that one comes around one more time after this one. But again, that's only if Manny wants to fight one more time.
Freddie, do you feel that?
How was dealing with money changes? Even with the appearance of that in his life, he changed his style.
Yes, he changed his style a little bit. He wasn't as aggressive because he felt that he could just outscore his opponents in that night, not hurt them and knock them out. And I think the religion had a lot to do with that. But I think he's finally realized that the fans like knockouts. They want to see knockouts. And he's been a lot more aggressive in this training camp than he has been in the last couple of years. So I like what I see for this camp so far.
Was it shocking to see all that changes in his life?
Not really shocking to see all the changes in his life. There was a lot of good things that he did for his family and being father and being an adult, and he needed to make some changes, and it was good for him. And it just it hurt his boxing career a little bit though, and he wasn't as aggressive in the fireball. And then fighting at 147 though, it wasn't the best move either. Well, it was a great move money-wise and so forth, but actually his best fighting weight was always at 140 or 135. I mean, he was a better puncher. He's never been a big puncher at 147 because by fight time the other guys are weighing like 150, 160, and it's much more difficult to knock out a bigger guy than it is a smaller guy. And he's a much better puncher at 135 and 140. And he's not a great puncher at 147. I mean, he hits hard, yes, but he's just not as good as when he was at 140 or 135. So I attribute the weight gain and the weight class he's fighting is why he hasn't knocked a lot of people out lately.
Freddie, I want to ask you about a previous fighter you had in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I know he's with Robert Garcia and Ricky Funes now, but before that was actually known to the media. It seemed that he could have ended up back with you, as his father had expressed he would like to see him back with you. And did you hear what his father had to say about him and his lack of discipline thereof? How do you feel about that whole situation?
I haven't heard what his father said, but the thing is, he's a great fighter, and I think the 4 fights I had with Chavez, he did really, really well in. In the last fight together, we just we only trained 5 days for, so why I don't know, but I do like him, yes, and if he did want to come back and work again and work hard, I would probably take him on because I do like him as a person. I think he's a very nice kid.
Did they reach out before Robert Garcia and Ricky Funes? Did they reach out to you at all? No?
Freddie, last question. In order for Manny to win this fight Saturday, does he have to fight differently than he did in the first 2 fights? Did you have to tinker with some things for the game plan, or does he have to be the same Manny Pacquiao?
He be the same Manny Pacquiao, but we want a better win though. We made those tweaks to win more decisively and not make it a close fight at all. And Manny knows I'm looking for a knockout, so I hope it comes.
Freddie, compare Tim Bradley to Juan Manuel Marquez as an opponent for Manny Pacquiao. Who's a tougher challenge?
Marquez.
Why?
Smarter, more intelligent, counter puncher. Difficult guy to train, to adjust to. He's a good fighter. He's a crafty guy, and his cornerman is one of the best in the world.
Why was Bradley
were you surprised that Tim Bradley was able to actually beat Marquez right after Marquez had beat Manny Pacquiao?
Yes. But Bradley's a very, very durable, tough guy. I mean, he has a lot of heart, and he's proven that more than once.
And Marquez kept asking for the rematch, and you guys kept giving it to him. And then when Manny wanted one after the last fight, he's like, he'll never fight him again.
Well, he likes the last minute. So I mean, I would too. But he told me he would fight Cotto, so we were negotiating that for a little while. But then that kind of broke down a little bit because we couldn't really agree to a weight.
besides the knockout ending, do you think part of it might have been right before that? I mean, Manny had broke his nose, dropped him. It seemed like he was on his way to stopping Marquez.
He was, but the thing is, he made a vital mistake, and Marquez capitalized on it. But that's how smart a fighter he is. I mean, he knew that once Manny stepped on his foot there, he knew exactly where he was, right in front of him. He threw the right punch at the right time. And that was something that comes from his trainer, Nacho. He was a very, very good trainer. I respect him a lot.
Freddie, Manny has stated also that there was talks of him retiring before that knockout by his family, that they were... what fight was that when they started coming up?
His family's been pushing him to retire for a couple of years now, and that's why I think it might come true, because his family means a lot to him, and they would like to see him quit boxing and spend more time with the kids and so forth. And it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. He's had a great career.
3 minutes.
Was there any point in the first fight that you thought the team was hurting Manny, or Manny was in danger of none at all?
Tim Bradley is not a big puncher. He's a little bit slow of foot, and he's never hurt Manny.
Freddie, didn't you say he did hurt him in that second fight, though, when he caught him with the overhand right? I thought you said that at the press conference.
I never said that.
Okay, so you're not worried. What do you think about him?
He's not a power puncher at all.
Okay.
I mean,
what do you think about the Brandon Rios fight? They both fought Brandon Rios. And,
look at the shape Brandon Rios was in the first fight and in the last fight. I mean, Brandon was... I never expected him to come into a fight not trying to win and just lose like he did, and with all that fat hanging over his belly. I mean, he was so out of shape in that fight. I think he retired before the fight, actually.
So you don't attribute that to Tim Bradley at all?
No, at all. You can't give credit for that. You can't give Teddy credit either for the game plan, because they had nothing in front of him. I mean, let's face it, he really looked bad going into the ring that night, and he did retire after the fight, but now he's made a comeback, and I hear he wants to fight Miguel Cotto.
Freddie, as for Bradley, how do you feel about the kind words that he said about Manny at the press conference yesterday? They seem genuine.
They're both genuine. They're both good people. I mean, the thing is, we don't need no trash bags to make a good fight. And one thing about those two guys, they will go out and fight really hard, and they both do fight hard, and they're both very resilient people. So I think it's going to be a good action fight.
Who do you think is the better inside fighter? Who's the better inside fighter?
Inside fighter?
Yeah.
Bradley probably. Manny's a little bit better on the outside with them.
How do you see the fight going on?
Pretty much like the first two, they're going to box each other a little bit and fill each other out, and I'm going to get Manny to start a little bit quicker this time than usual. They've been working on that, and as the fight goes, we'll make the adjustments we've done in training, and we'll see how they work.
Okay, thank you everyone, Freddie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your...